Good morning, guys. It is another peaceful day in the garden. The bees are buzzing, the hummingbirds are buzzing, and everything just feels so alive, but also so chill. And I'm really excited to show you guys what's going on this week. Things out here are changing fast, and right now, this little area is my favorite. Just because you can see all the zinnias and you can see all the little cosmos right here. And then if you just keep looking, you see more zinnias and then the corn coming up over there. It looks really pretty right here. And it smells really good too because of the lemongrass and the basil right here. Do you guys remember last week how I was saying it's time to pull basil and make more pesto? Well, I did not do that yet, and my basil is going to flower, but it'll still be okay. I'll be able to use this for pesto. My tomatoes up here are still making tomatoes. We've got baby tomatoes here. These flowers look like they just now set fruit, even though it is really hot in the middle of the day here now. Usually tomatoes will stop setting fruit if it gets too hot, so it's just really lucky that they're still setting fruit at all. These ones that are on them are looking gorgeous. Little leaf-footed bug there on that one. We've got all of these beans right here. Oh, look at how pretty the light looks coming through those. I've just been kind of training these onto the trellis as best I can. Oh, you can see they don't really like to cooperate. But I've been getting a few beans off of these, not just a ton so far. Like, these ones are ready to pull. I think 3 plants was kind of the sweet spot because of being able to feed more than just me. 2 plants is like almost too much for just me, but 2 plants is not enough to like feed the family, right? My partner's family, we have family dinner all the time, and if I can provide enough for everybody, then that's really useful. But if there's just not quite enough, it can be a little frustrating to kind of be in that in-between spot. Look at all these though. Aren't these just the most beautiful beans you've ever seen? They're like purple and velvety. So pretty. The variety, for those of you who've missed it, is blue cocoa. Wow, look how pretty that is. You are just iridescent. Wow. So from the tomatillos section here at the front of this second row, I have been getting quite a few tomatillos, although I will say a large number of them are getting munched before I get to them, which is really unfortunate. I think it's caterpillars. And you know, it's unfortunate, but also it won't ultimately be that big of an issue because I've planted a lot of tomatillos and I don't need all of those tomatillos. I'm going to get plenty to make a big batch of salsa for my mom, which is what I wanted. And the loss is sad, but like I said, ultimately not going to make that big of a difference in how I'm using the produce. If you're a new gardener, you might have kind of got this idea that if you lose any produce to bug damage that you're somehow failing. And I think that's just not true. Oh no. This little bee does not look very healthy, does he? Oh. Anyways, there's this idea that if you lose any produce to bug damage that you're just not doing a good job. And I really think that like the part of having a garden outside, right, is sharing it with the bugs. And you can't just pick and choose like only the bees are allowed or only the spiders are allowed. You kind of have to let everybody in, and part of that is dealing with a little bit of damage. But ultimately, if you plan for that, you will get enough. And I've said this before, and I will say it again, if the bugs don't want to eat it, if you're doing something to it to make the bugs not want to eat it, then why do you want to eat it? If it's unappetizing to them, I would think it'd be unappetizing to you too. And we are all kind of coexisting here anyway. It's kind of selfish to kind of try and keep it all for yourself. Have this like beautiful buffet and not share. Oh my gosh, I just realized that my blue butterfly peas are blooming. Look at those. Those are so pretty. Anyway, to actually talk about the plants that are in front of me instead of preaching to y'all, this red pepper here is that one I showed you last week that had just started to turn. It is still in the process of turning. It takes a while. You can see there's one getting darker back there as well. You see these peppers have been in this stage for a while, and I always underestimate how long it's going to be from seeing the first fruits to actually getting something ripe. It is a while. It can be like from the first time you see a baby fruit to ripe, like a month or more on these plants. The eggplants are doing really well. I've been pulling quite a bit from the Chinese string eggplants. You can see they've got a bunch of damage, but it's the sort of damage that I see every year. Pretty sure it's flea beetles that do this, and it's not really been an issue for me. Like, it kind of looks unattractive, but I still get a giant harvest from my eggplant every year. I've had this one producing quite a bit, although these last two plants up here still have not made any fruit. They are still in the process of making their first flowers. They look like healthy plants, so I'm assuming they're just a little bit slower of a variety. Checking out the corn, it looks like it was actually blown over a little bit in that storm we had yesterday. Yeah, this one especially is kind of leaning over. But I think it'll be fine. And it is growing so fast. Like last week it was like up to here on me, and now these plants are like mid rib cage on me. Very, very fast growing here. And I was worried that I had planted this too late. So I guess take that into account when you're looking at your own garden, and maybe take the chance and try something, because it could work out. You know what hasn't worked out though is the squash that I planted. The squash bugs came and decimated it so fast. Yeah, there's one right here. See him? Yeah. Cannot have squash in my garden these days. Gotta figure out what to do about these squash bugs. It's pretty sad, but eventually I will figure it out. Kata, what are you doing? You're actually eating the green beans. Holy cow. Why? Why are you eating the green beans, baby? You have good food inside. Well, that's a first. I've never seen a cat eat green beans before. This third row here is really shaping up to look nice. I actually removed this sunflower that had flopped over here because if you'll notice, a couple from the back are missing now. Those also blew over in the storm and were like hanging on my little makeshift fence back there. So I cut them and pulled them all out, and now this area looks a little cleaner. I've also been pulling lots of noodle beans from here. Honestly, the noodle beans without the blue cocoa beans would be enough beans for me. This is making them so fast. They will go from like this to this in like 12 hours or something, and from little babies to harvestable in like 3 or 4 days. It is crazy. And you can see all the little flowers coming in on these. That bee just pollinated one. And these ones from over here are just about to start flowering. You can see these coming on here. So this entire trellis is going to be super productive, and with my experience with noodle beans, this should be producing all the way up until a frost kills it. Additionally, this trellis is sharing with cucumbers. And these, I've gotten like 3 or 4 cucumbers from this plant now. This one's pretty much ready to pull, and you can see a few of these yellow flowers in here. It is making more. Very exciting. I think it's doing so well in the heat of the summer because this area is a little bit more shaded. It doesn't necessarily get sunlight during the absolute hottest part of the day. That's my theory anyway. It is still getting kind of eaten up by those yellow looking things. Somebody told me what they were in the comments, but I forgot to check up on that. Yeah, these things. They look so spiky. I'm afraid to touch them with my bare hands. But yeah, that's what's been eating my cucumbers. Should probably at least hand squish all of those when I come back after this. But despite that, I am still getting a harvest. This second trellis still hasn't necessarily filled out, but you can see the blue peas, blue flower peas are getting pretty tall. This plant has really started flowering. Aren't those gorgeous? And if we look to the other side, I've got more cucumber here. This one very soon is probably going to start trying to flower. And then this one is a little smaller, but definitely still existing. And having them kind of spread out like this is probably a good thing as far as production. I'll get to see kind of exactly which planting, which time of the seeds coming up actually gives me the best harvest, which is good information to have. This chocolate mint that I've had hanging here is doing really well. I don't actually water it outside of when it gets rain, and I kind of thought that that would be bad for it, but it seems to be doing okay. And so interesting to look. This looks like dead, and then, oh, actually, I'm alive. Mint is so resilient, kind of impossible to kill, according to some people. This hot pepper section back here also looks a little wind battered, kind of just a little tipped this way, if you know what I mean. These plants, this one is finally starting to put on its first flowers. This is my fish pepper. We've also got peppers on a lot of these, but not really any starting to ripen yet. I've got a bunch of these purple ones down here. These are Buena Mulatas. I've been calling these my Clemson peppers because they will eventually turn orange, I promise. I've also got somewhere in here Guajillo peppers. I've identified this one as Sugar Rush Peach. This one also, though, does have a little bit of disease coming on. I'm gonna hit it with some of that organic rev and hopefully mitigate the whole thing. And what organic rev is it's just a bunch of good bacteria and fungi, as well as really high carbon content. It kind of, you could use it as a fertilizer, but it's also just really good for boosting your plant's immunity. And I give all my plants this organic rev right when I transplant them. I've been giving it to my seedlings once or twice while they're still inside, and noticing really good results. I am just especially interested in really trying to use it to mitigate disease in my garden naturally. You can hear me talk more about it in this video I made up here, and you can also check out my link to it down in the description. This one right here is my Tabasco plant. You can see I've marked the ones that I did protect the blossoms of. So I will have some Tabasco seeds this year, which is really nice. Let's see, this one is making some peppers. This kind of looks like an Anaheim. And down here looks like maybe one of my newer ones. Maybe that's a poblano. Some of these other ones I can't quite tell yet what they are. That one, not sure about that one yet. And this one also has a shape that I'm not familiar with. So I'll have to go back and look at what I planted and kind of play a little matching game here. I did mostly label what I put out here, like in my notebook, but because some plants died and I replaced them, I'm not 100% sure what's what. Speaking of replacing some plants, this one is already making peppers. This is one of the ones that was left for dead and got replaced, and now look at it, thriving, making gorgeous new leaves, making gorgeous little peppers. In this back corner I did go ahead and plant more potatoes. We'll see if there's enough time for those to really do much. But at least I can say that I have tried. These sweet potatoes back here, this vine right here, these are doing pretty well. They are finally starting to vine out like I wanted. It's worth noting to myself that they took a little bit longer than I expected, probably because of this super shady area back here. Same with these sweet peppers. This row of sweet peppers is looking amazing, but they are a little slower than the ones that are getting a little bit more sun. You can see I do have some peppers coming on, but they are smaller than the other ones. And oh, look, here's another one. They will eventually get there. They're just slower. And I really like experimenting with things like this, the amount of light and location, just to kind of see what's going to work best for me. If you remember those sad strawberry transplants from last week, they are looking better. You can see they still look kind of sad. I got to cut off all the leaves that died. But, I mean, look at that new leaf from the middle there. That's a new leaf. This one's trying to make a new leaf. That's a newer leaf. That one's making a new leaf. Like, mostly these are actually doing okay. They just kind of, you know, they had some troubles. Speaking of having troubles, this corn over here, this is strawberry popcorn, and you can barely see it because it is still small. It also kind of got blown over. That's probably the biggest one. But you know, I still have some here. It's still alive. A couple of the ones that were here don't seem to be here anymore, but there's still one right there, one right there. Maybe that's also one right there. So maybe we'll still get some. We'll see. I think, honestly, the shade is the biggest factor here. You see this big tree above me? Yeah. These are much, much more shaded than these ones, which you can see are already starting to get some sun over there. So last week we skipped this section, but we're gonna go ahead and take a look now. My little fig tree, looking super healthy, making lots of leaves. I wasn't really expecting it to fruit, and it has not even tried. I haven't seen any signs of fruiting on it, but it looks pretty healthy, making a lot of leaves. The raised bed of herbs is doing about the same as it always was. This lavender, this whole section died back, and then this section grew some more leaves. Oh, and that is Bermuda grass coming up all the way through this raised bed. Look at that. Bermuda grass is impossible to get rid of. It, like most weeds, would not have the energy to come all the way up through this, but Bermuda grass can do anything it wants. Oh my god, as soon as I walked over here, they ran over here and started playing with each other. So cute. By the way, look at how cute that gardening bench is. My dad made that. If y'all haven't seen his video on it, you should definitely go check it out. This other raised bed, everything is still doing really well in it. I still haven't moved this kale, even though I keep saying that I will. I've still got quite a bit of parsley under here. And because I've been pulling flowers off of my chamomile, the number of flowers it's making keeps, like, it feels like it doubles or triples. Every time I pull flowers off, there's just so many more. So I need to come through and pull all of these for sure. Chives out here, only doing okay. Some of these leaves are looking kind of yellow, but it is competing with this giant kale over here, so it's doing the best it can. Meanwhile, the nasturtiums I planted up here never came up, and the ones that are here, they're not dead yet, but man, they're so close. They're so crispy and frail. They haven't even had enough energy to flower. So that's pretty sad. But the rest of this looking great. Greek oregano, this is looking like an absolutely excellent ground cover plant. I wasn't sure that it would grow this way, but that's actually really nice to know. I might try and propagate it and use it as ground cover somewhere else. But I'll have to check and see if it's invasive the way mint is. It kind of looks like it would be. You see the way it's putting on roots all along here? Yeah, that looks like that would probably be just as invasive as mint, so maybe I'll leave it here. Lemon thyme, more parsley, looking great. Oh, more Bermuda grass trying to come up. Can you see that giant pile of weeds that I still haven't dealt with? Yeah, There's more important things to do, like canning all of my tomatoes. I made 10 jars of tomato sauce last night. Took a while, which is why I don't have time to come outside and do some of this weeding right now. Strawberries are definitely not producing right now, which, you know, finally makes sense. It's the time of year when they're not really supposed to be producing. It kind of looks like blackberries. They had slowed down, but I'm seeing new fruits getting put on over here. So potentially another flush is coming. You can see some more reddish fruit back there. And raspberries are in the middle of a really big flush. I've been pulling so many raspberries, like quite enough for jam and any other fresh eating I would ever want to do. They're coming in so fast that I'm actually not able to keep up with all of them. You can see all of these overripe fruits that just got forgotten on the plant, which is really sad, but I'm doing my best. This one looks absolutely perfect. Look at that. I wonder if we look back here. Yeah, rosemary's still there. Looks healthy. Haven't really done much with it. I feel bad that I put it in this space that got so crowded, but in my defense, these bushes were literally 1 stick, 2 stick when I put that bush in. These are the things we learn as we go, and now you get to learn that without having to make the same mistake I did. Kate out here getting her catnip fix. You can see the difference between this plant that they always roll in and this one that they never touch. It's so much bigger and healthier. But like I've said before, this plant is for them. If they want to destroy it, that's their own prerogative. Look at the difference in the size of these bees. I know this one is closer to the camera, but this one is huge compared to something like this, which is normally what I see. Oh, and you can see the teeny tiny one kind of going around there too. Oh, so many, what's the word, native bees. Love to see it. Alright guys, that is all I have for you today. I hope you've really enjoyed looking at all the beautiful things in this garden. It is so full of food and I'm just so overjoyed about it. Oh, it's so nice. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I wish you all happy gardening.